Hello and welcome to From the Roots Up, where we are building our homestead little by little from the roots up. I'm Kristy, and today we are going to be having our first ever garden tour. It's still pretty early in the gardening season, but this week things have really started to emerge and start to blossom and bloom, and I cannot wait to show you the progress that our garden makes over the coming weeks. I almost didn't do this gardening tour because, if you can tell, my face is a little puffy. I got into some poison ivy, and this morning when I woke up, my eye was completely swollen shut. But it's a little better this afternoon, so excuse my puffy face. Before we get to our big garden, I wanted to show you an update on my green stalk. It is actually doing really well, but if you'll notice, things are starting to die back a little because it's getting hot, and we've had several days in the 90s or the upper 80s. The salad greens are getting bitter, so I think this weekend I'm going to rip this one out and we're going to plant green beans in it, and I got another one for Mother's Day, and I'm going to plant peppers and some baby bubba okra in that. And right next to that, we have my garlic, which was the first thing I planted when we got here in the fall, and it should be ready in a few weeks. It's looking good. We have a little bit of an issue right here where the dog has chewed up my little growing bag a little bit, but this wasn't meant to be a permanent growing solution. This was just a quick fix for moving in. Now let's head on in to the actual garden and see what progress is going on in there. Here we have our first hints of some squash coming up. These are spaghetti squash, and we are really excited about these. And as you can see, the leaves on some of my plants are a little yellow. We're still working on nutrient balance in our garden. When we started this year, we did a test on our garden area, and it was pretty low in several key nutrients. So it's going to take us a few years to really get it to where it needs to be. But in the meantime, we're growing. Now the middle of this row was corn, and only a few came up, and some of them got eaten by bugs. So this weekend I went ahead and replanted a lot of corn here. At the very end we have some Velvet Queen sunflowers, and this beauty down here is a mammoth sunflower. These guys can actually get 12 feet tall. Michaela is so excited about these, and we're very much looking forward to making some roasted sunflower seeds from these mammoths. On the next row we have some pro-cut sunflowers, and we've staggered the plantings of these so that they're ready at different times. As you can see, I told you that we had some pest pressure. You can really tell it in these and some of our other plants, but hopefully we can get past that soon. Then on the rest of this row, we have some just basic zucchini and crookneck squash that's sprouted and growing, and in just a few weeks we're gonna have squash and zucchini running out of our ears, I think. Several of you have asked, what are we planting on our trellises? And as you can see, it hasn't grown up tall yet, but this trellis is our cucumber trellis, this first one over here on this side. As you can see, we have baby cucumbers, and as they grow, we will attach them to the trellis, and pretty soon, in a few weeks, this trellis will be covered in cucumbers. Next, we have our little okra. It's little right now. It's going to be pretty big. This is Clemson spineless. It's going to get 3 to 4 feet tall, and we have several right here. These okra plants are really amazing producers, and they will shoot up in the next few weeks, and you will be shocked at their growth. Here we come to another trellis. This is actually our melon trellis. We have some Kajari melons growing on it and some other baby melons growing on it. And as you can see, we already have some baby melons that are popping up. Pretty soon we'll get to attach them to the trellis. Also in this spot, we've got some zinnias. Some of these are Queen Lime and Queenie Lemon zinnias. These are going to be gorgeous once they bloom. If you've been following Michaela's progress at flower farming, this next little section is all hers. She's got some cinnamon basil and cardinal basil to act as fillers in bouquets. Here she has a really neat trellis that she's going to grow sweet peas on. And you can see these little sweet peas starting to pop up. She's got some rudbeckia here and some daisies and a couple of other little bitty things. And here is a beautiful little amaranth just starting to poke its head up. She's pretty excited about this. And of the things that she's excited about, her zinnias are probably what she's most excited about. She has these scattered throughout the garden. And in true Michaela fashion, she has a pink tomato. And here's the real thing. We've got weeds. But in the midst of the weeds, Michaela has some sunflowers and some snapdragons. The rest of this row, we've got some Okinawa pink okra, and we have some griller squashes. We have some really neat round grenade squashes and some different things that go great on the grill. Check out this super cool pink Okinawa okra. How awesome is this? On this row, we have some Rudbeckia that we have transplanted. We can't wait to see how beautiful that turns out. Next, we have our sweet peppers. They are growing beautifully. And if you remember, we chopped them so they would get short and stocky and bushy, and that they are absolutely doing that. I have my sweet peppers separated from my hot peppers because it won't affect the actual pepper this year, but if we save seeds from them and they cross-pollinate with the hot peppers, your sweet peppers could become hot. So I have my sweet peppers all the way on this side of the garden and my hot peppers all the way on the other. And here is another one of Michaela's little nooks in the garden. These are some zinnia seeds she got from Charleston Farmhouse, and they are lovely. They're starting to come. Look how tiny this little zinnia is. So tiny. She calls this one Little Sunshine. And this one's just now starting to open. We can't wait till the rest of them open up to see what they look like. Next up are the Contender Beans, and these were by far the best growers. Some of them are even already producing little beans. We planted several types of green beans in the garden, and a lot of them were really spotty growers. But these Contender Beans, they really took the cake. I will definitely be planting contenders every year here. As you can see, they're already coming up. These are really close to being able to latch on to the trellis. And more zinnias. If you can't tell, we kind of have a love affair with zinnias here. Here we've got some eggplant, and down there some green beans. In this section we have a few things popping up, and I'm not sure what all is in here. This is our nighttime blooming mix that we got from Hudson Valley. This is going to hopefully attract some pollinators, but we have several things popping up here. And right here we have some Starfire Marigolds. These are teeny tiny little marigolds that grow off in tall branches. They're going to be perfect for little bouquets or even keeping the pests away. All right, drum roll. I know some of you have been waiting to see how my experiment went. I have 3 trellises of tomatoes, and on one of those trellises I buried with eggs in them. And I wanted to see if it really made a difference if you buried an egg, if it really gave that many more nutrients and helped the plants grow. Well, the results are in. Let's take a look. I would say that all my tomatoes look pretty good. This is one of my trellises without the eggs. If you'll notice, there's some yellowing on the leaves, and some of them are a little squatty. But I want you to notice the color difference. These are the ones that I planted with the egg. Some of them are tall, tall. They're already bearing fruit, a lot of them. And they're green. They're very green. Look at this Brad's Atomic Grape. Already has several little fruits on it. Here we have some rattlesnake beans, and probably of all the things in the garden, these have the heaviest pest pressure. You can see the little holes in them. But we're still keeping on and hoping they do okay once we get them up on the trellis. I have some Panther Edamame from Hudson Valley here, and it had really spotty germination. I'm a little frustrated, but I went ahead and ordered some more edamame today so I can plant in the holes so I'm not having gaps in my garden. These will be marigolds. Hopefully these will grow beautifully and bushy, and they'll help keep down our pest pressure. And you guessed it, more zinnias. Another trellis here, and this one is purple hulled peas. Now, the purple hulled peas didn't come up at all. And I have to say I was really heartbroken about this. I planted them twice, both Baker Creek, and I normally have enormously good success with Baker Creek seeds. I don't know what was up with these, but I went to my local garden center and I found some, and I'm hoping maybe the variety that my local garden center has are better suited to grow here. So I went ahead and replanted them for the third time. Let's cross our fingers and hope these grow. These right here are mini bell peppers. I am really excited about these. As you can see, they're already giving off some fruit. So I can't wait to pick these and taste these little teeny delicacies. Some of you might remember in one of my seed starting videos, I had a little guy come up that wasn't one of the type of seeds that I planted. This is him. If you can help me, what in the world is this little guy? And here I have my hot peppers, a good ways away from my sweet peppers. Look how beautiful this is. Look at these beautiful purple flowers. I'm excited about that one. And here I have my final trellis. This one is going to be Chinese long beans. These had spotty germination, but they're finally coming up right now, and I think they're gonna be great. And of course, at the base of it, I have more zinnias. We have a lovely Indian blanket and more of Michaela's flowers. As you can tell, there's lots of stuff I'm really excited about in the garden this year, but nothing I'm more excited about than this. I have never been able to grow celery from seed, but y'all, look at this. I've got some plain and simple green Dahlias celery, but I also have this beautiful pink celery, this Chinese pink celery, and it's growing beautifully. And not to be outdone by Michaela, here is Taylor's potato patch. And a stunning purple echinacea. Just a few more rows on this side of the garden. Here we have our onions that are doing great. This is the more neglected side of the garden. If you take a look, it's covered in weeds, but we'll get there. The mulch really does help with weed pressure, but still, when you hollow out those spaces to grow, the weeds grow just like the things you're trying to grow. So you still have to keep up with them. Here we have some lovely dahlias that we've grown from seeds. We cannot wait to see what these turn out like. Over here is glass gem corn that should be ready come September. Next is the asparagus patch. I was a little concerned about it because it was kind of slow catching on and we only had one little asparagus sprig early on, but now it's doing amazingly well. They can be hard to see up against the backdrop of the mulch, but I've got these little babies poking up everywhere in here. It's gonna be a few years until I get a return on this harvest, but oh, it will be sweet once I do. And last but not least, we put this tarp paper down because our fence stretched around and it left some extra space that wasn't wood chipped. So the fastest, easiest thing was for us to put some weed cloth down and go ahead and burn holes in it, and we made this our melon patch off to the side. So we've got watermelons and we've got pumpkins and winter squash, and we also have a back row of sunflowers over here. You can see right here the watermelons coming up. Some of these are individual sized watermelons and some of them are large Charleston watermelons. And traveling to this side, we have winter squash and pumpkins, and these are doing amazingly well. Back here are our sunflowers. These are going to be beautiful. Well, that's it for this week's garden tour. After this, things are going to be growing fast and furiously, and I fully expect to start harvesting things next week. So we can't wait for you to join us then. If you had fun following us along on our garden tour, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when our next garden tour comes and you can follow along with the growth of our garden throughout the summer.